The Case for an Intellectual Revolution in Rwanda. I am thinking out loud, and it hurts them. Written by Gabriel Ndayishimiye. Published by LivenBooks. Section 2. The Problem. A nation trained to obey, not to think. In Rwanda, obedience is not an accidental cultural trait. It is the product of systematic design. The people have been trained not to think critically, but to survive through silence. They have been domesticated by institutions that reward compliance and punish inquiry. As Paulo Freire warned, any situation in which some individuals prevent others from engaging in the process of inquiry is one of violence. In Rwanda, this violence is not always physical. It is ideological and emotional. It is the violence of fear, dressed as discipline, internalized through decades of submission. The roots of this problem run deep. Rwanda's history is one of successive regimes that have demanded loyalty over liberty. Under colonial rule, obedience to foreign rulers was enforced through the dismantling of traditional power structures and the imposition of hierarchical social control. Post-independence leaders, rather than dismantling these structures, adapted them, continuing the pattern of domination. Today, despite modern appearances, the core logic remains unchanged. Dissent is dangerous, questioning is treasonous, and silence is patriotism. The genocide, while a profound and tragic national trauma, has also become a tool for the current regime, used to justify ongoing repression. Any deviation from the official narrative is labeled divisionism, and those who speak out are accused of threatening the nation's fragile unity. As Freire observed, fear of freedom, which their education inculcated in them, manifests itself in reactionary attitudes. They defend the oppressor and try to imitate him. Many Rwandans now defend their silence as a necessary virtue, and their fear as a form of wisdom. Education, which should be a path to liberation, has instead been weaponized as a tool of control. In Rwanda, the education system does not cultivate thinkers, it manufactures followers. Teachers are not facilitators of critical dialogue. They are instruments of state discipline. Students are not encouraged to question, analyze, or imagine. They are trained to memorize, to repeat, and to conform. The curriculum avoids complexity and controversy, narrowing the world instead of opening it. Freire called this the banking model of education, where students are treated as empty vessels, passively receiving knowledge deposits approved by those in power. The more students work at storing the deposits entrusted to them, Freire writes, the less they develop the critical consciousness which would result from their intervention in the world as transformers of that world. In Rwanda, young people are not being prepared to transform their society. They are being groomed to preserve it as it is. This has created a profound culture of silence. In such a culture, people are not only afraid to speak, they are taught that their voices do not matter. They are led to believe that their thoughts are dangerous, that their only role is to accept the world as given. Speaking truth invites punishment. Asking difficult questions risks social isolation. Dreaming of alternatives is branded as betrayal. This silence is not a natural state of affairs. It has been carefully cultivated through fear, trauma, and continuous reinforcement. The people have internalized the limits imposed upon them, and in doing so have accepted a diminished version of citizenship. Fear in Rwanda is not irrational. It is a learned and rational response to a system that visibly punishes dissent. People do not need to be explicitly told what not to say. They learn by watching. They see what happens to those who dare to challenge power. They know the stories of dissidents who vanish, of critics who are imprisoned, of families who suffer because someone spoke out. Fear becomes the language everyone understands, and silence becomes a form of social capital. Obedience is not just a political necessity, it is a survival strategy. This reality, as Freire would argue, is one of dehumanization. When people are denied the right to think and speak freely, they are stripped of their humanity. They become objects within a system rather than subjects capable of shaping their own destinies. To exist humanly is to name the world, Freire tells us. In Rwanda, the people have been denied the right to name their world, and thus their full human existence. Yet this condition is not inevitable. The culture of silence, no matter how deeply ingrained, can be broken. Rwandans have endured, survived, and resisted in private. But survival is not enough. To survive without the freedom to think is not to live fully. The greatest danger now is not chaos or division. It is the continuation of enforced silence. The greatest threat is not to the stability of the state, but to the dignity of the people. Rwanda's future depends on its people reclaiming their right to think, to question, and to dialogue. Freire reminds us that only through communication can human life hold meaning. Silence may have kept people safe, but it has also kept them in chains. It is time to end the culture of fear and begin a new era of critical thought and collective liberation.